right, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the Friday Night Fightcast. Here today with special guest Behrudy. Has fantastic videos like Monday Night Fights, and even way back in the day, you had the Road to 300, which I enjoyed watching so much. I looked forward to those Mortal Kombat 9 videos every day because you were killing it back then.
You're too kind, Trey. It is a pleasure to be here. I am officially an OG in this scene because I don't really post as much as I did. I want to say 7-8 years ago, but it's an absolute honor to be on your podcast. I mean, look at you, man. You watch my videos. What are you at, like 200,000 subscribers or something? You blew up, man. You're one of the big boys here. You got to rename yourself because I don't think you're an underdog anymore.
That is what sucks, actually. Because like you get more hate when you get bigger too. I don't think I'm one of the big boys yet, but I'm doing my best to hold my own, and that daily upload grind is crazy. So I don't blame you for not wanting to do that because it can just take your soul away.
That's why I totally respect what you do, man. And no, you gotta definitely be proud of yourself. You know, I feel like it takes a lot to get to that point, and it's twice as hard to get there with fighting games, right? Like fighting games, I feel like have grown a lot in the last like 4 or 5 years, but I know you were doing it a little bit longer than that now, and it's just been it's a hard task, man. It's a very always said
niche.
Fighting games. Yeah, it's very niche, and I always have said fighting games are some of the hardest games to get people into because they are so daunting. They are, they're just, it's scary. You know, it's scary to know that it's a one-on-one game. You can't blame anything but yourself when you lose. You got to learn all these combos, and you start talking about frame data. What is frame data? True underdog? I don't know. It gets really. It gets a little too technical for a lot of people when you start to, throw too much at them in the beginning.
It's kind of like cooking, I guess. Like you take it in baby steps, and then eventually it all clicks and it all starts working together. So when someone adds a new curveball, you're like, oh, I get that because I already have this kind of idea of it about a different thing. So it all works together and it joins like a puzzle piece. But yeah, getting into it's super hard. And when I was in high school, and like MK9 was the first fighting game that I was actually learning well, because I played the 3D era games, but I was just goofing around, right? Because the 3D era games were fun. But I was like, what's a block button? You just press the button faster than your opponent and hope that you win when you play with your buddies and all that. You get mad at the AI for killing you when all you have to do is block, but I'm just constantly attacking. Develop a hatred for Goro and all that stuff. And it's funny because you mentioned like watching your channel, but here's the thing, not to put you on the spot, but your channel was the first fighting game channel I ever discovered. And I did not know that fighting games were like that until I saw you playing the beta for Mortal Kombat 9. And I was like, wait a minute, it's more than just press buttons and get the victory. So I started playing it and learning it, but it's all your fault is what I'm saying. Like the curse of me is your fault is what I'm trying to say here. So if anyone wants to blame me.
So you're saying anyone who hates you needs to come back to me
and give you free views. Donate to your Patreon,
Trey,
all that stuff.
Lot, man. That means, my whole goal with my channel. And I love the FGC. I love the fighting game community so much in that tournament scene. But I wanted to step back from that. I wanted to show people the magic of fighting games. And I didn't want it to seem too scary and daunting. And my whole goal was to show the fun side of fighting games. And I feel like when someone goes in and they watch like an esports stream or a tournament, it just could be like, oh my God, this is way too much to take in. For me, it's kind of like, you can lay back. You can play online matches. You're going to lose, you learn or you lose. You learn or you win, right? You win or you learn. Is that the line?
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's you just have to understand to take losses in fighting games. I kind of wanted to show that in my channel too. Like there's probably plenty of videos where I've gotten my ass kicked, but I'll come back. Sometimes it's more fun when, you see someone kind of thrive over a loss. And, I feel like I succeeded in that to a certain amount. I just kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, I feel like, fighting games are now starting to grow on YouTube because looking at it from my perspective, I started around 2010, and this is when Machinima was at the top of the world. Obviously, the Machinima's gone now, but they were at the top of the world, and YouTube was filled with nothing but Call of Duty videos
everywhere.
So
were the high schools too.
I'm literally talking thousands of Call of Duty videos uploaded every single day, Trey. This was not a joke. And it was so frustrating because I loved so many different kind of games. And I was thinking like, okay, people like this competitive stuff. Why are fighting games not getting the love they deserve? Like, this is amazing. This is at the time where, 2009 or so, Street Fighter 4 just released. the revival of fighting games was coming back. You saw Gutex doing his bar fight series. A lot of the East Coast, West Coast. I remember one of my favorite channels was a channel called Arcade Hustler. This is a channel based in New York where they were recording people like Arturo Sanchez and Sanford Kelly and L.I. Joe. Like they would just kind of record their moments within the arcade and their emotions while they were trying to get better, while they were doing money matches. And I was like, I can't believe this stuff is getting like 1,000 views. Yeah. While I can like poop out a Call of Duty video and it's going to get, 10 times that at least.
You had that one idea for a series. I know you were joking about it, but you had that one idea of disguising the video, even in the thumbnail, as a first-person shooter, and then when they click it, it's just a fighting game, and you're like, we're gonna get them. We're gonna get them this way.
They're gonna be hooked. I think Machinima would have dropped me for that, but
it was such a spectator sport, though. It's so good to watch. Like fighting games I have more fun watching them sometimes than even playing them, especially if the game's just tough. Like Street Fighter 4, speaking of Machinima, because I was trying to find one of your videos yesterday, and I think it may have been Lost with Machinima. It was when you did the Dan playthrough, when you were playing online as Dan, and you were just showing I'm bodying people with Dan. Back before Dan got any like buffs that made him, more comparable. You were playing with terrible like joke Dan, and still threw that Blanca guy 15 times in a row in the corner because he kept responding like a computer in the exact same way. It was so funny. And I'm like, man, he doesn't care about losing. And you had that farewell to Street Fighter series where you played every single character at least once, even the random play button, which I appreciate because I was like, he needs love. And you're like, he does. He needs love. The random select button needs love.
That. And exactly, man. Like with some of those characters, I sucked with and I never played with, but it was, again, showing about the fun that you can have. Don't worry about the points. Don't worry about your losses. I swear, must have been some characters there that I picked that I may have lost like 80% of my matches, but I'm sure they were entertaining because it was probably hilarious to figure out certain characters and how they played in the moment. So
you're describing Raiden right now in MK11. I'm trying to like play him because he got a new skin. Raiden is just everything that's wrong with the character in that game. Raiden has. It's really sad. And it makes no sense because he's the god. He should be one of the strongest characters. It's like Beerus all over again in Fighters. But at least Beerus, you can argue, is sandbagging. Raiden's not sandbagging. He's giving it his all, and he just sucks. It's like everyone tricked him.
Honestly, if that's how tier lists work, though, can you imagine how busted certain characters, even in like Dragon Ball, would be? Like right now, there's some low, like I think Krillin's pretty damn good in Dragon Ball Fighters now.
He's one of the better characters now because of the new assist. Yeah,
dude, I used to play Super Saiyan Goku because I always loved the Hit and Goku like bromance.
Okay.
And Super Saiyan Goku sucks now in the latest patch. I'm playing Krillin instead of Goku because I think Krillin's a way better character than Goku now, which is just crazy to think about if you compare that with the Dragon Ball lore.
In that game, they have reverse tier levels. They really do. Like whatever is like a weak character in the show is just great because Yamcha was winning tournaments for a while because of Kazunoko. It was like you had to have Yamcha on your team if you were in like the top 8 of the tournament. Everyone had Yamcha. Everyone. And it was crazy. Even though he has some weird limitations, but he's still a super good character. He still excels in other areas. But it's important to not care if you lose.
Yeah. So sorry, go ahead.
I can't bring like the same warmth that you do, but I try to in my videos to stay positive. I still get salty.
Just bathing me in compliments, Trey.
No, it's true though. Your videos are so comfortable. It's so much fun to watch them. You only got salty, I think, one time, but I don't think it was your fault. It was the character. You were having to play Jade in MK9 against a noob Cybot, and she's already terrible. And I remember like the only time I saw you get salty is one line when he like hits you, and you're like, why does that hit overhead? There's no reason for that move to hit overhead. I have one overhead and it's slow as fuck.
Oh yeah, I remember. Because I love Jade so much too. And to be honest, you're being nice there. Like I got way more salty than that. A lot of times it's kind of like it's frustrating, But again, you kind of got to control those emotions as much as possible because you got to remember it's like there's always something you can do better. No matter how good of a player you think you are or how rough the matchup is, there's always something to learn. That's how
that replay button, everybody. That replay button. Watch your replays, or just at least replay it in your mind. Because I lost to a Joker player who was making fun of me because he kept doing the same thing over and over again, and I legit didn't know the answer because Raiden doesn't have a single move that reaches him when he does that. Yeah. And his normal that does reach is too slow, so he'll just block it, and then it's his turn again. And I'm like, I know the answer now. I just had to special cancel, but that's crazy. that after his move,
Yes.
my only answer is projectile. But that's the only way I could have punished him because nothing else reaches. And I'm like, I just had to do raw projectile. That was the only answer there. But what a weird response.
Right there, Trey. That's the magic of fighting games. And anyone listening to this podcast right now is when you figure out one option that beats, whatever they're abusing, or just one reversal or a counterattack to a specific option that changes the game dramatically. Right? That's why sometimes when you see like extremely high level players play, sometimes you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that worked. It's because they're playing chess in their mind. They already have options loaded up to beat a lot of these very abusable moves. So sometimes it's the most simplest option that breaks them down and it completely changes the matchup. So sometimes when you're getting bodied by a character who's abusing something, the moment you learn how to beat that one thing that they're abusing, watch them fall apart, watch them crumble.
Yep.
I remember being in an MKX tournament one time. I won I think it was like a mini Canada Cup that was in Vancouver, and I won the MKX tournament there. And I remember there was a one Jackie player. This is MKX Jackie.
She's like the opposite of what she is now.
Everyone who was just spamming her it was full auto Jackie.
Yep.
And I just remember a lot of even strong players getting blown up by this because they just could not find a way in. But the moment you kind of take that away and you kind of inch your way forward and stay patient and blow them up, they become afraid to use that abusable option. And I don't know. I find that beautiful, man. I find that just so cool that, you can struggle at something so much and then find out one thing and everything completely changes.
I see that in the comments sometimes where they're like, oh my gosh, I did not know about that strat. I'm going to blow up that character now when I fight him. I did not know about that weird weakness. Because some moves just have weird gimmicks. Like, oh, that string is safe and it's her fastest move. And it's like, you think it's safe, but that last hit can be flawless blocked. So just flawless block it. Ain't safe no more. And it's got a really big window on it, so just block it. It ain't like Street Fighter Third Strike, where every parry requires precise timing. Some moves have easier windows, so just blow them up. So I wanted to ask you, since you are guilty for spawning my channel, what was the inspiration for your channel? You said, I guess, a little bit. You wanted to ease people into it, but what was the actual spark that made you think about it, I guess? What was the moment where you're like, I'm making a channel?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. It was... when I graduated high school, I graduated in 2008. It's been 12 years since I've graduated almost.
We're old.
Yeah, I'm getting old, man. Turning into an old man. I remember I wanted to get into video production. I was already loving YouTube and everything that's on YouTube. Of course, I love gaming. And, 2009, the following year, was probably one of the roughest years of my life. Everyone, all my close friends, all smart dudes, going to university, going to college, seemed like they all had it all figured out. And, I'm here taking a gap year. And I remember working on film sets here because in Vancouver, I live in Vancouver, British Columbia, so we have a lot of film shoots here. I got to work on Planet of the Apes. I got to work on Arrow. I got to work on...
Oh, that's so sick.
The A-Team.
It's a great portfolio really cool already. That's awesome.
But I don't get me wrong though, Trey. I was bottom of the bottom. I was a production assistant, so I was literally just on set.
Got to take more cool photos. I got to
meet a lot of cool people.
Can make everyone jealous. Just if only Instagram was more popular back then, you could have been like, look who I'm with all the time. Just angle it to where the guys, the actors right next to you, and enlarge him in Photoshop. Yeah. Great. I get what you mean though.
Was Andy Serkis on set. But anyways.
Oh, he's fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So anyways, I was kind of doing this and set life's really weird. You're waking up at 4 a.m., coming home at 9 p.m.
Jesus.
And, you pretty much just give up your social life completely. And, during that time, I was able to save a little bit of money and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start this YouTube thing. I'm going to kind of tone back on this production assisting, just have a bit of a life, maybe do it a few times a month. Because every time you did it, but back then it's like $250 a day or something like that, which honestly when you break it down to the hours, not a lot of money, but back then when you're an 18, 19-year-old kid, pretty good money. You can
I hear it was actually a bit better back then too. I hear because there wasn't adpocalypses and stuff, it was actually, and also they wouldn't demonetize you off the bat like they do now.
Yeah, no, I'm actually talking about working on set right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Even before.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I'll talk about all that. Don't worry. This was working on set. That's how much you'd make. And So it was just kind of a weird, dark time. And I remember taking a really big risk. And a YouTuber by the name of Philip DeFranco started a show called Like Totally Awesome. It was a brand new channel. It was going to be all tech and video game focused. And he started, he pretty much made it into a game show at first of like, I need, content creators, so I'm going to make a competition. And he did a show called The Quad. And it was 4 people, and then the viewers pick who stays on for the next weeks. I think like 2 people would get eliminated, 2 would go on. And I just started making a game review. Like I did a game review I think I did a movie review at first. But anyways, thankfully, I went on to the next phase of the show, until the show actually ended. I stayed on the whole time. And that really helped me get my first like 2,000 subscribers or something, which at that time was a pretty big deal. YouTube was not at the point that it is today where you have these channels all over the place with millions of subscribers. Like Philip DeFranco himself must have had like 100 or 200,000 maybe at that time, and he was one of the top guys on YouTube.
Yeah, just getting 100,000 back then was like a huge deal. It was like a club. Yes. Like you're in the 100,000 club. Exactly. And now it's like you got to be in the 30 million club.
So to make it quick, eventually I got to that point where I got the 2,000 subscribers. I was like, okay, it's time for me to create something of myself. I can't rely on, this Philip DeFranco channel to go on because it seemed like they didn't know what they wanted to do with it. The channel's shut down now. It's been shut down for 4 or 5 years. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm seeing all these Call of Duty videos. Let me do videos based off fighting games because I think this is something that's not covered enough on YouTube. The only other person who's probably doing it a little bit was Darkside Phil, but Darkside Phil also played a little bit of everything. And, at this point, Gutex, I think, was just posting some bar fight stuff. This is the more competitive stuff. So I wanted to do a little bit of the Let's Play area.
Yeah.
And from there on, I started, and my goal from day one, I need to get on Machinima. This is the biggest platform right now for gaming. Machinima Respawn, I was way too small for them. They would not take me in. So Trey, you know what I did?
What'd you do?
I sneaked my ass in there. They were starting a new channel called Machinima Sports for sports games.
There you go.
And I was like, okay, I got a little bit of following. Let me sneak into this sports game thing. And then I will work my way up to Machinima Respawn. I will show them what I could do, and they will like me enough. I mean, I was just a confident little cocky kid. Like, I could do this. I play a lot of the arcadey sports games. I used to play NBA Street back in the day.
There you go.
So there you go, man. I got into Machinima Sports, did a few videos for them, and talked to the channel managers there. I'd be like, hey, listen, like, I want to try something. I have a Call of Duty video. Like, I'm pretty good at Call of Duty. I have this nuke video. Can you put it on Machinima Respawn? I did it. Luckily I got that opportunity. And, the moment I kind of did a few Call of Duty videos, I'm like, hey, I'm going to try something new.
Yeah.
Can I put on a fighting game video on Machinima Respawn? They were like, we kind of only do Call of Duty and Halo, but okay, we'll try it.
What a bunch of zealots.
I did it, and I think the video got like a couple 100,000 views or something like that. Like, it did really well. And they were like, oh, please do more of this. Like, we want more fighting games, and that's kind of where it all began. And, one of the biggest compliments I've ever received, too, was after an event, I think it was the Red Bull event, I was with Mike Ross and Gutex. And they were like, listen, Bear, like, they said that they were kind of creating the formation for, Gutex is always doing content creation. He's an OG for it. But I think Machinima invited Mike Ross and Gutex to the Machinima offices. And they were kind of like, hey, like, do you guys know that Behrudy guy? Do you guys know Behrudy? And they said they looked at each other and they were like, who the fuck is Behrudy? They actually had no idea.
And go, like, yes, of course we do.
They had no idea, which is awesome. It kind of it develops in the story. And they were like, oh, he's this guy. I mean, he's creating these fighting game videos. He's doing a really good job on our channel. It's like, do you guys want to start doing videos on Machinima? And I think that was the start of Cross Counter. And I think that's where they, Machinima, company like Machinima finally had to see an example to see the magic within fighting games. And then, look at Mike and Gutex now. Obviously, they're not really doing content, but they just blew up. They have an amazing dynamic, one of the best FGC content creator duo probably the best FGC content creator duo out there.
It's pretty
Can't
amazing.
argue
They still
that.
have some of the most fun videos to watch, even if they don't create all the time. I go back and watch those, and they're
Yeah.
so much fun.
Yeah,
It was a great
you know,
dynamic of
for
like very chill versus like no chill.
exactly. And for me, that was just so fulfilling to know that, my, my little risk and, this stupid 19-year-old kid who was just really hungry, that little risk that I took to get fighting games on a bigger platform that had over 1 million subscribers at the time, which was huge. It kind of, blew over. Like they got Cross Counter on board. They got Ultra David started doing little commentary videos back when Ultra David first started doing content creation. And eventually Maximilian got on Machinima, right? And look at Maximilian now. Max is a freaking star.
Yeah.
So it's super cool. I'm not saying that I was the start of all this and I created them or anything like that, but it was really cool to know that, I got to express fighting games to a bigger audience. And once I kind of fulfilled that, I was like, you know what? I think my time has passed and I've done what I've wanted to achieve.
Well, that's good. That's its own little victory right there. And I wish
It's a beautiful.
I wish studios were more like that now as they were back then. Where they're like, what's this thing? I don't know, let's try it. And then it does well and they go, more of that. Now it's like everyone has the algorithm for what works. And if fighting games weren't popular and someone tried now, like, oh, I want to try this new thing, they go, no, we have what works. You sit down. We're not even going to try anything new.
Right.
And that's why all the songs sound the same and all the films have the same like setup and all that. Like everyone knows what works and they're like machines. They don't want to try anything new. We need more producers and studios like that who are just like, what's this crazy thing? I don't know, try it. Oh, they love it. Do more of it. That'd be great. Be fantastic.
Yes.
So do you still play some fighting games?
Doing.
Which ones do you like the most lately if you still play them in your downtime with buddies?
I do. I definitely do. I love fighting games too much to ever fully drop them. I'm not as, tournament heavy and go as I was before. But what I've been playing so far right now, I tried Guilty Gear Strive yesterday.
Yes.
The beta was out. Which was cool. There's a lot of weird things about it, but I love Guilty Gear. I think it's amazing. But Dragon Ball FighterZ has just been my go-to game, to be honest.
That is a fun game.
Everything about that game, near the end of my content creation life cycle, I was playing a lot of Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and I started to adore that game because I had very close friends who were like just heavy into that game. They were just going to tournaments and they were addicted. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I got to a point where I started loving Marvel 3. And Dragon Ball FighterZ is, it's a versus game at the end of the day. And it's too much fun, man. I can always try out a new team now that you can select your assists. You can create all kinds of compositions. One of the best fighting games of this console generation for me, for sure.
I like that game a lot too. I'm scared to come back to it because I was gone for too long. I know updates happened when I wasn't looking. I'd have to read several patch notes to understand what's going on. All my guides are outdated. Knew that was going to happen because I made the guides when vanilla. But it's a fun game. It's a lot more fun locally, I imagine, too. Because online, the mix happens, and you're like, I swear I blocked that. I swear I did. But now I'm dead because he has 7 bars, and all of his characters are still alive. I'm dead. And you just sit there and watch it happen. I kind of wish it had a burst, like Guilty Gear, just a one-time combo escape. Like, no, here's my one escape for the whole match. Yeah. That Guilty Gear game is fun. I've heard it's changed a lot from the past game, which is, I guess, fine, because I barely touched the other one. I played Jacko because she was my queen. Oh, yeah. She is hot as hell. She had the best crouch animation in the world. And everything about her, actually, because I did animation in college, and I still teach it.
That's awesome.
But every one of her animations were so creative and adorable. Plus, she does the whole mask thing. I don't know why, but ever since I was a kid, a mask character is like my favorite character in almost any medium. Probably Spider-Man's fault. But even like Carmine in the Gears of War games, I was sad whenever he died. I'm like, no, Mask Boy. He's the only one who wears the mask. And he keeps dying.
Carmine was awesome. I've yet to play through Gears 5, actually. But
I haven't even played 4.
Topic, but
my students tell me about it.
4 is good. I really liked 4. Gears of War is now made in Vancouver here, so it's very close, actually, to where I work.
A lot of films are made up there now, too, because you were talking about the producing thing, but it's because you actually provide tax incentives or something for studios that make films up there. So think
about the tax incentive, and 2, think about how low the Canadian dollar is right now. So it's pennies for them to produce stuff over here if it's an American studio, right?
But yeah, for sure, because that was blowing up. And
Yes.
yeah, Guilty Gear's fun. I was enjoying it. The damage is so high. Like I'm playing, I'm trying to explain the character, and it took me like 3 matches to explain the character in real time fighting the AI because I keep killing them. And I'm like, well, that was like one combo, did like 33%. And as you saw, it was just normal, command normal, special, and they're like 33%. If I threw a Roman cancel in there, you'd probably be almost dead.
Yes. I think I saw a soul combo on Twitter today, now that you mentioned that, where someone just did a counter hit combo and it did like the character just blew up. It was like
their damage is not correct yet. Like some of it's intentional. Like some combos they do intend to hurt, I think. But there are some broken things. Have you seen the chip wall combo?
No, I haven't.
It's all over Twitter because like one guy discovered it, and now they're all spreading it. So if Chip command grabs you in the corner and then does a Roman cancel, he runs up the wall underneath you, and he can just keep hitting you up. And it's like 20 hits before you actually are thrown off the wall, and then he can still dive kick after you. So it's almost an infinite. And it's just Chip already broke the game, which is so funny. He's already ridiculous. He's the one, like if y'all are listening, you want to study the matchup against him the most, I think, because he's a scrub killer. He has a Rekka with lows and overheads in it, and he can choose which one to do. So he can choose to hit you low, he can choose to hit you overhead, and it's a real problem.
I know. I think I did one Potemkin buster.
He's so
and
cool.
It did like 35% or something like that.
Yeah, his command grab does almost 40%, just his standing command grab. And it's the same input as a giant swing. But I love how they designed him because he's what a grappler is supposed to be. Because you can tell that like he wants the throw. That's his main thing. But every way you have to escape the throw, he has an answer for. So if you're constantly running, he has stuff for that. You want to try and projectile, he can either armor through it, or he can flick it away and hit you for trying to throw projectiles. You want to jump, he's got a super for that. And the super will catch you out of the air. So don't jump. Yeah. Respect.
don't jump. Yeah, he's got a command grab out of the air. I always say, like, when you want to see how great a fighting game's design is always look at the grappler characters. Because when you look at the grappler characters, you'll understand kind of the play style that they want to play. I've always said that I think Hugo is one of the best designed, grappler characters. I think he's just got that anti-air grab. He's got, these tools to condition you so well. And, Potemkin's no different. I'm glad that you said that because I think Potemkin is just so well designed in a play. Obviously, he's a grappler by nature, but he's got all these other tools and amazing normals to keep people in check. And,
Hugo was so interesting in 4 because in Third Strike he was definitely like he has the same moves, but in 4 he got combos, which made him much scarier even on the ground game because he could just touch you and it's like, oh, here's like crouching short, EX clap, and then clap again, and it's like still 25%, and it's like, yeah, I clapped you. It's what happens. Those claps are safe, by the way. Clap. Yeah.
The clap mix-ups on Wake Up are so cool. It's either I'm going to meaty clap you or I'm going to whiff clap into command grab. It's like, it was really cool. You get hit by a meaty clap, you're going to like just explode. There's
a great video on YouTube. I don't know if I could even get people to find it by name, but it got me so hyped back in the day because I wanted to learn Hugo. He had just come out. And it was just 2 Japanese players who they've been playing the game already because it was probably early in the arcades. So they've already been playing Hugo. There's no commentary, just gameplay on the arcade. And they're some of the best Hugos I've ever seen. And just both of them are playing almost flawlessly. But there's like no mistakes and it's all crazy fast. And I'm like, how are you? What is this? Like, this shouldn't be how. But oddly enough, despite Hugo being, I think, really good, he had some of the worst matchups too. Getting hit by moves that don't hit anyone else, even if they're standing, but he gets hit crouching by it. So he had some problems. But he can duck through a projectile somehow.
I feel like any game with big bodies, you'll always have that issue. People will find something that works on your character that doesn't work on anyone else. Yeah.
That's why you should never do combo videos on the big boys unless you tell them in like the top of the screen, like these only work on the big guy. Like these do not work. Yeah. And that always threw me off a bit because I'm like, wait, I understand he's got a bigger hitbox. I understand why technically it works. But if I was a developer, I'd try to actually give him faster fall or something because he's heavy. He should technically have the shortest combo punishes on him because he should fall right away. But no, he floats like everyone else when he's being comboed. Even in Smash, like the big guys are the ones you combo. Like they're fodder. That's like one of their weaknesses.
You like to think outside of the game. You like to think about, true tier lists and, real power. Like, like Raiden actually needs to be good because he's an elder god or he's pretty much a god. And Beerus needs to be good. And now you're thinking about weight. I like that.
Well, I think there is one game that does that. It's Dead or Alive. But it barely comes up.
Does it actually do that?
Dead or Alive has weight classes. It doesn't make a huge difference, but with some of the best characters in the game that have the best combos, you find out they're featherweight, which means
interesting.
they have the longest combos you can do on them. And there's no combo breaker in that game. So like everyone hated Alpha 152 because she had like the cheapest looking moves, and she literally had moves where she just kicks you 15 times, but it's like the same button over and over again. So you hate getting hit by it, knowing how simple it is. But if you punish her, and she's very punishable on a lot of stuff, you can do the most fancy stuff on her. Then the heavy guys have the worst combos, I think. So I guess one game already did it, but it's very minor.
Yeah.
You don't notice it unless you're playing it like high level, but that's still very cool.
Yeah, it is a lot to learn when different characters, when you got to learn all these different matchups, and each different character has, different combos you have to do on them. Like I was even trying to learn of Cell and Dragon Ball FighterZ because he's changed so much, and he's got all these different combos that you sometimes got to just think about, the body type, and it's kind of like, I gotta like remember all this stuff. It's a little bit.
I recall your video on the you explained so well what I didn't even understand, because I saw some people saying that it was light, medium, heavy for the air combos, and they were lying. It was light, 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 and the game just gives you the follow-ups, and it's important to know that, because that's what a pseudo air combo is, where it lifts you up. It magnetizes you to the opponent. They kept going too high up for me, or I would sink is what's actually happening while attacking them. But if you mash light, it floats you up. I'm like, okay. And then your Cell video had the cool like cancel, where he would throw the air special down, and then he'd flip kick and miss completely, but he'd fall down with them and keep going. It was so sick. And I'm like, that's really cool. That's a really fun gimmick they found, like an exploit actually. That's really cool. Oh yeah, so like I was saying, there's rumors
for calling it the pseudo jump for that.
Oh, pseudo jump.
There's no real name for it. Yeah, like
a Dark Souls villain. There's no actual name.
It like, just use light. Can we just like name it something like tracking or something? So it's like, I'm gonna call it a pseudo jump, because to do the most optimized combos, you need to know things like that.
And it threw him off in the combo video, so that would show light. Like, but that's a medium. I'm like, you think it's a medium? It's light. Yes. I swear.
yeah.
And now it's different. Now you do now the new thing is you jump and do medium and hold back and do light for most characters. Like you jump, do medium, light, and then launcher, and then you do the pseudo stuff. But that was really cool. I'm really hoping the rumors are true about Shiva being an MK11, because I don't think they have a true grappler. They have Jax, but he's mostly beating the crap out of you. His throw is just there to scare you whenever he does it, because it's not his whole game plan. He just wants to punch you. He's a striker that has a command grab. I want just pure grappler. I want like Shiva from MK9, but in 11. It's gonna be fun, I think.
I want to ask you this: what's your favorite MK game?
Oh, I guess I have reasons to love each one. I was never really that good at MK9, and I never played it like against really good players, so I have no idea how much it would frustrate me, because everyone has something broken in that game. And plus, you had the top tiers that ruined it. Like Cyrax kind of just ruined the game because he just touched you once and you were guaranteed dead, or reset at least. But in spite of that, and then you had Johnny Cage with random frame data, which was actually a thing. You could have random frame data on block. So the game's too busted.
So weird. I remember that. I do remember that. It was busted, but the thing about MK9 that I remember, it felt like it had the most identity. Like it was one of the more kind of unique fighting games. It felt like, because it was so weird and so different. Where don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed MKX and MK11. But MK11 seemed like they were trying to slow things down a little bit more towards a Street Fighter feel, where they were trying to be a little bit more footsies oriented. And MK9 was just so crazy and so jank and out there at times. It kind of had a charm to it, if that
and you
makes
built
sense.
meters so fast, too, that even though they had 50-50s, you built meters so quickly that you could actually get hit on purpose and then just combo break right away. That was actually a strat. And then it reset the neutral. I think
the game was crazy. There was nothing else out there, right? That's why I think it was. The only issue I have with NRS, though, is just how often they patch their games. I feel like they changed the meta just a little bit too often. They've slowed down, I feel like, for MK11, which I've been happy about. But I remember MK9 days. I remember there were like characters that just got deleted after a patch. It was kind of like there's no reason to rip them anymore.
Yeah. Whereas they joked about that in Fighters, and it was never really true. Like everyone kept saying, "Oh, Android 16 is dead," and you still see him at tournaments, and it's like you can't kill him because he's too solid. Like he just has everything you need. Did you say any fighting game or just for Mortal Kombat?
Just from Mortal Kombat, I want to know.
Okay, that's the more specific. I'd probably say X, only because X has ridiculous 50-50, which I don't like. I don't like the mix, but I do like when I played X recently, when the opponent beat me, I felt like I actually lost. Whereas in MK11, you can have a huge life lead, and then you barely miss a move because you misspace it. They don't even footsie you. You just misspace it, and they get a counter hit, crushing blow. And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And then you make one bad mistake, oh, fatal blow. And it's like, I know how you got that. You got that from me beating you up. That's how you got that super. And now you've lost. Because that was a 30% crushing blow and a 45% fatal blow, and now you've lost. 2 mistakes.
That's true.
And they weren't even a combo. If you body me with a combo, respect, because you converted that. But the crushing blow makes me salty sometimes. And also the throws are so strong in that game. It feels like everyone's a grappler because you always have to guess, no matter what. They're always 50-50s. Right. The regular throw.
That's true.
And if you guess wrong, shame on you, little boy, for trying to play the game. Now it's going to crushing blow next time. Oh, well, at least I know based on which one crushing blows. Oh, except for these characters who have it in both directions. Now you still don't know. Guess the second time.
Do you find it weird that we went from MKX being such a fast-paced 50-50 game to MK11, which is like slower than MK9 is? You know, like they went from really fast to, you know, a slower game. Like I felt like they didn't like where MKX was, or they just wanted
to try it. I think I have a theory, and it's a tinfoil hat theory, Bear. But I really do think that the same small team of consultants made all of these games around the same time in the beta phase. That's why they all play footsie right now. Because Street Fighter V and MK11, you can't tell me they're that different. Like in terms of how they have robbery factor and all these comeback mechanics. There's all these counter hit rewards. And,
you know what it is?
And then Samurai Showdown also is just like that. That they all feel very footsie based.
To be fair, Samurai Showdown was always kind of like that in a sense.
Fair enough.
You're absolutely right, though. And you know, the issue is, and I'm sorry I cut you off, it's esports. That's the thing. They think that having these crazy comeback mechanics, these crazy 200% combos, they think that that's going to be fun to watch.
The spectacle.
In reality, it actually makes the game more frustrating to watch. And they need to realize that quick. Comeback mechanics tone down. Find a balance. You know, obviously have a comeback mechanic of some sort, but don't overdo it. You know, like one crush counter into a 50-60% combo is just not as exciting as you think it is. But I think we're just kind of going through a dark phase with that, and hopefully they realize. But I love the fact that you mentioned that.
And I feel like also like MKX, at least, like it was all fast, so you understood the name of that game was fast and mixes and pressure, and every character had that in different ways. In 11, it's supposed to be footsies, but also here's a teleport.
Yes.
But also, here's a half-screen unreactable slide from Sub-Zero. But also, so it's like got characters that actively go in the face of it. Like imagine in Street Fighter. Correct. Imagine Balrog, his like buffalo punch, but it's a low and it goes under projectiles, just out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, I thought we were playing footsies, but apparently we're playing bait the slide, because that's what it is whenever you play Sub-Zero. It's bait the slide, and
I love your Balrog impersonation, by the way.
The little huh.
I love your grunt.
Well, that was an issue with 5 too, because they had the input delay. They had like the 8 frames or something of input delay. And one guy pointed out that it seems like not a big deal, but you literally could not walk forward, bait that punch, and then block it. By the time it activated, the game would not give you time to block. You were just guaranteed to hit. Yes. And it's like the whole way that you've always played Balrog since Street Fighter 2 is you bait that. And now you can't. You have to already be blocking, which is ridiculous. And
so strange, the story of Street Fighter 5. It's a whole, conversation in itself. Not gonna like crap on the game. There's a lot of great elements about it, and I'm so happy to know people are enjoying it. But definitely some very strange decisions, huh? Like there was some things that you're like, what were they like thinking? Like what was the thought?
What we need, Bear? Whenever these meetings happen, we just got to make sure whenever they talk without us, they got to have a T-chart. We'll just bring a T-chart in. Okay, here's the moves. Okay, you're going to do the pros and the cons of each move. This is how you keep a move from being busted. Because it's the idea behind the crush counter was supposed to be, I think, that it rewards you, but it's also not the safest button. So like you don't want to use it up close all the time. Oh, but look out. Here's Urien. It's not only a crush counter, it's plus. Just do it. Just throw it out. Okay, well, what about my character who all the crush counters are unsafe? Hey, man, shut up. This is a DLC character. He gets to be great.
Hey, listen, that was a similar thing. I played Rashid, too, and that was an issue with Rashid because I would just always spam, down heavy.
Yep.
And it's like, why wouldn't
So
I
good.
do it? Like, it's such a good button.
Hmm.
It's if I get the second hit, counter hit, I get a crush counter into a full combo. Like, why would I use any other button in this distance?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's such a good high priority button that gives me so much.
Yep.
And yeah, it was you're right. The T chart. We need that to happen because
There are characters who do just that. Where it's like, why do Liu Kang players all do this? Why would they not? That's his like he has like 3 good strings, and that's them.
And I don't want to crap on Street Fighter 5. There's thankfully there's
You
a lot
might
of
as
people
well.
really
Everyone does, even if they play it.
yeah, you get to play it. But
Yeah.
if you're out there and you're listening and you like it, like that's an amazing thing. I'm very against people crapping on other people's games. Like
Yes.
if you love a fighting game, don't let anyone tell you that it's crap and you shouldn't be playing it. Play whatever the hell you enjoy. That only really shrinks the community more than anything. And people have different tastes, right? Like I love Dragon Ball Fighters. Well, some people I know absolutely hate Dragon Ball Fighters because it's just too crazy and chaotic. But
And they don't get to play.
Person.
If they're fighting someone good, they just don't get to play.
Yeah,
Keep getting hit.
Very much.
I saw the new guard cancel thing they have is like really strong. I never used to see that as much, and now I see it all the time, where you just switch sides and attack the person from the back, or whatever that's called.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the defensive swap out. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so. It's not called guard cancel.
I think it is the guard cancel. They always have these Z names to it, and I always
I
forget them.
see. Yeah.
Like Z
I wish that every fighting game would stop with the names for supers and just call them supers. I understand like Instinct mode and Killer Instinct, fine, and it's like V Trigger in Street Fighter, fine. But then you play Mortal Kombat where it's Fatal Blow and Crushing Blow. It's like just call it a super. And even Street Fighter, they've always called it a super, and now it's called a critical art. And I'm like, are you aware they already have a name like that in Tekken? The Rage Art and the
It really sucks when you do commentary for different games, Trey. Because when I do commentary, sometimes I forget the exact name. Like I know what it is, but I know it has a specific name to it that is obviously specific to this fighting game as well. So I hate that. Yeah,
just call it a super. I'm lazy.
Call it a super.
I mean, they still call meter burns or amplifies in Mortal Kombat or Injustice. They still call them EX. I see so many tournament players that go, oh, the good EX cancel there, a good EX move. And it's like, yeah,
that's right.
Whatever. And you can also just call a Roman cancel a cancel. People will still get what you meant. Like in Guilty Gear, oh, good cancel there. Why is it even a Roman? Why is it a Roman cancel? Is there a reason why it's called that?
I don't know.
Does Guilty Gear all take place in Rome? I don't know.
Listen,
I don't know the lore, Bear. I really don't. I'm new to it.
Guilty Gear is a crazy world. It's one of the coolest, I think, worlds.
Is Guilty Gear like Kingdom Hearts, where like the word heart means a bunch of different things, like how the word gear means a bunch of different things? Like you're a gear.
Don't even talk about. I don't understand the Kingdom Hearts story. I've watched many 1-hour videos. Had all these like spin-off games on the DS and like PSP, and anyways.
I as well have wasted many a time learning the lore because I wanted to play 3, and then because I don't have an editor, I do it all myself. I don't get time to play like anything, even right now, like because I still have a day job, so I'm working from home still. You think I'd have more time than ever, but still I don't get to play any of these side games. I have never had a bigger backlog of games that I haven't finished. I finally found time to finish Horizon Zero Dawn, and I was super happy about that.
That's a great game. Fantastic
it is great
game.
Though I will say, dear God, do they expect a lot of you in those last like few missions? Because it's like, am I supposed to be able to actually manage all this? Like I have a slow-mo button and I'm still not able to hit this guy because there's like 4 more guys from the side attacking me. And I'm like, this you must just be supposed to be like like the entire time, like in this last mission. And
could we just say to anyone right now listening, and during this strange time of the quarantine, this must be the best time to be a gamer. Just because I work with a lot of people who don't game and who don't really understand the world of video games. Like we really got to appreciate the fact that we love and have something that we can just get lost in and think about, because as far as how my brain works, watching like a movie or something is just never the same as being engaged into a video game.
It's not the same. And that's why for me, I don't know this is a good question for you actually. I'll do me and then I'll ask you this. So for me, the most important thing in a video game, like what determines my favorite video game, is how immersive it is. So when I played Dead Space, the first one, I'm actually scared playing that game because there's no HUD. They're so clever about that. There's nothing to make you think it's a video game. So as long as you allow yourself to be put in the world, there's nothing to contradict that idea that you're not in this evil ship with monsters trying to kill you. It's great. And BioShock was the exact same way because great atmosphere. Like, love it. So those are my favorite things in a video game. In fact, the more a video game feels like a video game, the more I dislike it. So when I played Fallout, for example, I love Fallout, but there is so much crap constantly on my screen that I know I'm playing a game. And like in Assassin's Creed 2, same thing. Because the first game actually had a pretty good HUD. You didn't even see it half the time. And then in 2, it's like, here's a mini map. Here's like your health bar. Here's all the dots that mean each player who's currently looking at you. And it's like, it feels like a game. Stop. I want it to be like immersive, but that's me. So what for you is the number one selling point for a game that you love the most about them?
Oh man, that's a really good question because there's so many different things that I look for when I get immersed, but I think, your point was fantastic, but for me, it's always about the gameplay. I'm one of those people who I just want to break down things and find out the most optimal way to play. And even as I get older, I still like enjoy kind of very gamey type experiences. Like, I don't know, I don't know if you know a game called Enter the Gungeon. Very kind of bird's eye view type, or what do you call them? Twin stick shooter.
Okay.
I just love games that force me to get better. That, I start off like crap, and it's not me unlocking things that makes me better. It's me myself as a person getting better.
So Dark Souls and Bloodborne then just must be like your cocaine. Because you start off being really bad, and then you're just, I get it. All these bosses are chumps to me now.
Yes. And I think that there's something beautiful about, because I hate it. I hate it when games handhold you a lot of the times. Where kind of like, oh, you lost this many times, but you've gained all this experience. Now you got this ability. This boss will be 10 times easier now because you've been trying to beat him for the past 5 hours. I hate that because it's kind of like, oh, I didn't develop as a person. I didn't get better. As sad as that sounds.
The Final Fantasy VII Remake has something like that, but not for bosses. There's a stealth mission, and Globku posted a video. I don't know if you watch him or not, but he posted a Twitter clip about it where he's playing Final Fantasy VII. It's a stealth mission, and the game literally has you leave your room, and a little pop-up tells you how stealth works in this game. Like, very brief description. If you take one step forward, there is a pot right in front of your foot that you can't even see because your character is obscuring it. If you just walk forward, you will touch that, and Cloud just goes, and mission fail. Yeah, and if you do it enough times, they remove the pot.
Great. Oh my god.
And it's like, why is it there?
Yeah, that's terrible. And it kind of goes back to your point too. It's like, I guess when you kind of get hand-holded too much and it starts feeling like too much of a game, and you're I don't know,
too many retries also ruins it. Like, if it takes too many attempts, that also takes you out of the experience. Like, if it's like cheap in a way, because I played that one game that I was super excited to play, and it was Little Nightmares. It's a horror game where he plays a little like raincoat girl, and all the monsters look like humans out of a Tim Burton movie. They're all misshapen and weird.
Actually, that sounds pretty cool.
It's kind of adorably creepy because like there's no real gore in it, but it's just creepy because like you're in a room and you're tiny, and they're all like 10 plus feet tall compared to you. You can look it up, like Little Nightmares. But like if you watch the trailers, they're great too because the trailers just show your character running from these monsters, and that's most of the game, is trying to avoid these monsters, right?
Oh, I've totally seen like,
and it's the exact same setting as BioShock. Like, you're in an underwater city. It's really cool. Now here's the problem with the game. Nearly every encounter in that game, Bear, you die on the first attempt. So it ruins the horror because like literally the only way to survive some of those encounters is to already know where the exit is. Because there's no way to break the path of the enemy, to like throw them off your trail or anything. They just grab you. And after the first scary encounter, which is one of the hardest ones in the game, oddly enough, where even speedrunners keep failing at it, because it's so hard to tell what he's gonna do when you first like get his attention. So then you're not scared of him anymore because he just gets to have you, and you're like, well, I'll just keep plowing through it until eventually I get by him. But it's such a creative game, like art style wise, and there's even little stuff in there I didn't notice when I played it, like how the chef, he's not even wearing his normal face. He's wearing a face over his face, because if you watch him, he scratches under it.
It's mad creepy though.
Yeah, it's nice and disturbing. And
but great point, because feel like balance is the hardest thing to get in games. You know, you definitely don't want a game to be too hard that it's stupidly frustrating and it's just not fair, because there's plenty of games out there that are like that. But when a game is also just too much of a breeze, I just feel like finding that perfect, I think, center is something I think a lot of developers still really struggle.
Oh yeah, because even the Dark Souls games have infamous bosses that either require zero skill and you just hope that things work out, like the Bed of Chaos, which can just completely ruin your run if things don't happen the way you want them to. Or you have like what was the enemy in Bloodborne? I think it was the potato. I forgot her name. It's like the one in the giant lake that you fight, and she's like a speedrun killer too. I forget her name. She's the vacuous one, the vacuous spider.
Oh yes. I totally remember. Yeah.
That one also like ruins a lot of people's day because it's not even like a set strategy. It's crowd control. You have to have like tools for crowd control, or you have to specifically overwhelm the boss before any of the minions show up. So it's like either you plow through them, you know what I mean. So no one gets it perfect 100% of the time. Even like the Doom Eternal game, everyone's talking about that because
I haven't played it yet. I need to
it's
play
good. I'll tell you my quick rundown of it. So it's way better in terms of what you can do and what you need to do to play the game. But one thing I actually preferred about the original Doom that came out in like 2016 is that the enemy placement felt very well thought out. Like they purposely had the waves of enemies contrast each other so that like it's a bum rush or it's this one you have to chase with like little minions to keep them like safe. But in Doom Eternal, I swear to God, they just throw the entire kitchen sink at you for some missions. It's not even like who you're fighting.
Not even like thought out.
Not really. I fought the same guy 3 times in a row who's like a mini boss. And towards the end of the game, you just fight 3 of them in the wave while also fighting 3 of the other strongest enemies. And it's just like they thought, oh, here's the toughest enemies. We'll just throw them all at you at once.
And it's like, it's probably because they added the air dash to the game.
Oh yeah, also play it on PC. You got to get it on PC. You got to.
Okay.
Because if you don't play it on PC, it's like not made. I was playing on PS4. It's not made for that. You can tell it's not. Because there's an enemy who moves like you do. He purposely has a dash, just like you. And he will move into your blind spot. Just go to your blind spot. And on a mouse you just turn and pop him. But on a controller, it's tough. Like to keep him in your line of sight and shoot him. But he'll purposely go into your blind spot. And you got to spin 360 to like get him. And it's really tough on a controller. The game was clearly made and tested on PC, which is what it's for.
No scopes, man. As you got to know. Yeah, no, I played Doom 2016 on PS4, but I was thinking about getting it turned because I have a more than powerful enough PC to run it.
There you go.
But I just don't. I don't know why. There's something about PC gaming, and I know it's way better and it's way smoother. But I just love sitting on a couch and playing games, and I don't have my PC, next to a TV because I know you can easily hook up a computer to a couch. But there's something about just kind of laying back and experiencing something that I love. But definitely
PC is prettier though. I play a mix of both.
Yes. Yeah. Is that where you play all your fighting games for your channel? Do you see?
No, I do it on console, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because it just adds one extra step because I use OBS to capture, which means the Elgato is my middleman. But if I just played on PC, and I actually have it on PC for other reasons, like I play with friends or I train people on PC. So I do have it. That game is so grindy with unlocks that all my fun costumes and gear are on the PS4 already. So I'm just going to make do with that.
Who's your main character right now?
Huh?
Or before I let you go to who's your main character right now? Who's your?
I don't really have a super duper favorite, but I guess if a gun was pointed to my head and it's like you got to win this match, it would be Jackie.
Oh yeah,
which is a shame because she's one of the least popular characters to watch. So like if I wanted to play just Jackie, I can't because no one likes to watch her.
Do you go to tournaments at all or anything? Because Texas
the only 2 I've been to that were majors. I don't go to locals or anything. I'm in Texas. There's no tournaments in the city I live, and Texas is huge. Houston has them, but Houston is like a 5-hour drive from where I am. So I have to go pretty far just to get to a tournament scene. But I went to Combo Breaker, got beat by Biohazard. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
He beat me pretty early. I didn't escape pools at Combo Breaker. Huh?
Got beat by a fellow Canadian.
Yeah, so that's true. I was going to mention that. Yeah. I let him know that I appreciate him playing Bane in Injustice 2. Loved it. That game's so keep away heavy that when you see like a rushdown, you're like, yes, more of this. We need more of that.
Yeah.
And they need to get away from that. Like NetherRealm likes their keep away. They gotta calm it down. Not just zoning, but they love their keep away. They love their full screen characters. They're like, I'm going to be as far away as possible. And it's like, that's not fun to watch. So if they really want esports, got to kill those characters.
They're just, I feel like they're not good at designing those characters. I feel like NetherRealm has not made.
I've thought about, like, if I had the time and effort and energy that like Nerd City, that YouTube channel has, I wanted to do a video like theirs just on like how a zoner is supposed to be made and what makes them actually fun. And just blow people's mind. Like, believe it or not, little kids, when you watch Dalsum at high level in Street Fighter 4, that was amazing. Like when you watched a high level Dalsum player.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That was the perfect zoner character because he took a lot of skill to play Dalsum in Street Fighter 4.
You respected
it. You want to maximize it? Yeah, you got to respect anyone who plays that character so well. And, you know, he was decent. You know, he obviously had really rough matchups. Sadly, Yun. You know, I don't really want to bring up Yun to.
Everyone was a bad matchup for Yun, except for Yun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, then, you know, I feel like there's a bunch of characters, especially later on, there were people who were able to deal with him. But Dalsum versus Yun was like a 2 matchup. It was so bad. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that one up because I don't think there's been a kind of zoner in a Street Fighter game or even in a lot of games as good as Dalsum was designed in Street Fighter 4.
And he's Rushdown now in 5. He's like both. He has the Gale. Yeah.
What's going on? Why is Dalsum a Rushdown character? What kind of weed were they smoking when they were developing Street Fighter 4?
Same with Jackie. She became full Rushdown now. She used to be keep away. Now she's pure pressure. And here's the scary thing though. I'm pretty sure my go-to strats with Jackie don't work at high level. They got me to top 100 at EVO. That's the best I've ever done. And it'll never happen again because Mortal Kombat 11's not at EVO. So it's never going to happen again, even though I've gotten infinitely better with Jackie. But she has gaps in her strings that no one like really exploits, but she has gaps. So you can just blow her up, some of her best stuff.
That's crazy. Let me bring you back a little bit. Why do you think NetherRealm games die after 1 year of competitive life cycle?
There's several reasons. Here's like, I'll give you like several. The most obvious possibility is that I think they draw in a younger audience. I think high school and younger love that gore, like violence thing. So they come in, but that audience always goes after the next big game. So they'll play it until the next big game comes out and they'll let us jump ship. So that's one reason why it may die, not at the tournament scene, but like online. You get way less players after like the first year because they're all on to the next big thing. Tournament-wise, I don't know. It could be because people get frustrated with how they are balanced. Because let's say that you're a Raiden main or a Raiden loyalist, and now Raiden's just bad, and you don't want to play anybody else, like Raiden's your character. So you play a different character, but then it's like, it's not the same. And I've known players who feel that way, even in X, because Kenshi in MKX wasn't as good, though I still think he was pretty decent. He just wasn't great. And if a character's not great, and there was actual pro players who were like, I'm done. I can't play the character I want to. I'm going to a different game. So it could be they change it too much each game, and it makes people salty. I liked how Injustice 2 was actually very similar to Injustice 1. They didn't, some characters almost like copy paste, like the same character, which was cool because you had to carry over your legacy knowledge. It could be too that
they were very, very.
They made us move on to different fighting games too. Because I made the joke that the reason Tekken keeps growing is that people who are playing a different fighting game as their first game hears about Tekken, and so they try it and they just never go back because Tekken's so much fun and rewarding for learning it. And
you know, I feel like the quote unquote fall of Street Fighter 5 not being as successful and as big as I think Capcom probably had hoped for this esports circuit has really led the way for a lot of other fighting games, right? I feel like Tekken 7 really got the shine, and it's a fantastic game. And that's why it makes me sad that MK11 didn't really like super duper thrive competitively. It's kind of crazy to me to think, you know, when you look at how artificial tournament circuits are right now with, you know, people are going to play this just because we're going to pump, you know, $500,000 into the prize pool.
That's going to be the League of Legends fighting game when it eventually comes out. Yes. It's going to become the new big thing. It could be like the furthest thing from a fighting game and just barely have enough to qualify as a fighting game. And you and I will watch a lot of pro players only play that game because the prize pools are huge. Like, what if we just never see Sonic Fox ever again? Because they're like, no, the money's here. Like, the money is with this game.
Exactly. And that's probably going to happen, man. I think that's why I think I'm loving so much of what's happened with Tekken 7 is feels so much more natural and organic to me. Tekken 7 to me is kind of what Street Fighter 4 was becoming. It didn't need obviously it has its own circuit and has its own pro tour. But it absolutely did not need that. I feel like the game had this organic growth. The game was just so damn good that it caught people's eyes and attentions and kept people's interest. And I feel like the fans, people who are out there who are fans of Tekken, like truly love that game. You know, no matter how much money was pumped into it, it just feels very natural to me. Where even with MK11, it's kind of like, well, you know, NRS and throw out that money, they'll pay the big bucks. Feels like some people are just playing it for the dollars, and it's kind of sad. I hope that we kind of find a middle ground for the next generation of games, but I hope money is not the only motivating factor for, you know, a game's success.
Hopefully not, because then you'd have only the same characters too, which kind of happens already, but we're talking you see the same 3 characters if it was all money. But Leroy was a thing too. Let's not forget Leroy.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he got toned down, right?
Yeah, but I mean, even on paper, like I watched Main Man Sui, I think is the one I watched. And I was like, I can make a video on this too. I ended up not doing it because I was only doing Mortal Kombat. But I was like, yeah, just on paper, like the fact that his best combo starter is like one of his safest options is already super strong. That his like high reward, low risk, that's already nuts. And then he has like a 50-50 that tracks, so you can't even sidestep it. And that's also safe. So like he literally has low risk, high reward on so many things. And then on top of that, he had the parry, which is like only his thing. Like there are parries, but the way his worked was unique to him. So he's already doing like the common stuff he's already doing better. And then he has this unique thing also that's only his. And it's like, okay, this is kind of nuts.
They want you to buy that season pass, Trey. You got to pay the big bucks to get the best characters. That's how they make money.
I like the joke somebody said when it's like, all right, Harada, you are now welcome at the barbecues. Because he's like, that's the best character is Leroy now. And I mean, Faku Ram looks very strong too, actually. I was playing him, and he's scary. Like when you play him and then you go back to playing a regular character fighting against him, you're like, dang it, because he's got the same speed almost as everyone else, but he's like twice their length. So like his kick, he's like just his best mid is like the same speed as everyone else's mid, but he's got twice the range. So he just throws it out. And it's like, how do you get in on him? Like you think the big boys would be someone you like want to keep distance from because they have like worse range? No. He's a big boy who has good range. He'll just punch you and kick you. And he has a bunch of
a lot of fun whenever you play Tekken 7, even if you jump on for like 10 minutes to try something. Like, doesn't that game just feel so fluid and just almost perfect to a sense?
But I'll be real, I prefer 3D fighters anyway, despite almost pushing them very little on my channel because they're not as popular, which is the sad reality of it. Like even like Globku said, I love Grand Blue like Fantasy Versus, but it's not pulling the numbers that Fighters does or My Hero Academia, One Justice. So I'm just going to play those, and Grand Blue will be my passion, but I'll just upload it less. But yeah, I love Soul Calibur and I love Tekken. I think Soul Calibur is my favorite right now.
Nice.
But at the same time, in saying that, I have a buddy who plays with pros all the time. Zubaz is the code name he goes by, which is funny because that's a Street Fighter character that never came out. But yeah, he plays Soul Calibur, and if he plays me, I hate it because I can't do anything. He knows the frame data so well, and he knows all the shenanigans so well that it seems like he's not even trying. That's like how good he is at it. And I'm like, dang. But if I play someone who's just average or slightly above average, Soul Calibur 6 is the most fun for me because it's like Tekken with more clear rules. Because in Tekken, it's like, oh, you can sidestep that. And it's like, I can? But it's like a hook. It's like a big hook. No, you can still sidestep it. Really? Why? I don't know. You just can. It's just a hitbox. Oh, okay. But in Soul Calibur, it's like vertical. You can sidestep it. Horizontal. You can usually duck it. Like, it's just very simply laid out. And I like that.
Would you agree with me to say that Soul Calibur 6 was probably the first, it was the best Soul Calibur in a while?
I think so.
Because I really did not like Soul Calibur 5 very much. It was very hard for me to enjoy, but I feel like what they did with Soul Calibur 6 was like I had a lot of fun with that game.
I like 6 a lot too. And it's such a shame that it didn't get as like it fell off the map pretty quick. Not as fast as Dead or Alive 6, but Soul Calibur 6 has also a bunch of offline stuff to offer. Has really fun story mode. It's got some individual story modes for each character that are actually pretty good depending on who you pick. It's like very like Yoshimitsu's, because Yoshimitsu's always been the coolest character in fighting games for me, but mostly just appearance and how crazy he is. I did not expect a story that was actually compelling. I thought it would be like, oh, he just shows up, steals, oh, I robbed you, he's like, ooh, and he runs off. Something dumb. But it's actually him avenging his clan, and you learn where all of his like catchphrases come from, and that he was like a bitter a-hole who became like carefree after his mission was done and like more happy afterwards. He can read your mind, apparently, according to like the story mode. He can like, you can't lie to a manji. I didn't know that. Yeah, did you play the story mode or no? It's great.
I did go through the story mode. I totally forgot. But then they had the individual story for each character.
That's what it was. It was the individual one.
Yeah.
And he goes, you can't lie to a manji. He lets him know when his eyes glow. And it implies he can read your mind. Or at the very least, he's like Daredevil and he can tell if you're lying. And there's even my favorite part in his story mode that like, I was so happy. It's when he's fighting the demon of the sword, which we already know is also named Yoshimitsu. That's where his name comes from, is the sword, not him.
Yeah.
But when he's fighting the spirit and he's losing to it, he actually breaks character, and his voice actor goes back to normal. So he stops being like, "You God," he's like, "Enough." It's a regular guy, and you're like, "What? Whoa!"
You gotta get into voice acting, baby.
So it's like I would love that. Oh, it'd be so much fun. If anyone wants to hire me, I'd love to do voice acting, but I'm too lazy to put my foot in the door. I just try to make the best content I can. I'm not doing it the way you should with like business deals and all that and reaching out. I just make content. They usually, if they want to offer, they come to me, which is not how you're supposed to do it. But it's working out okay. So Bear.
The moment you start putting too much monetary value on things, doing things just for monetization, it kind of starts to take away that love for it, and it's very easy. And YouTube is very transparent. You can really tell sometimes when people are not loving what they're doing and when they're not as inspired to be making the content. You'll eventually crack and show that transparency, that you're not really that happy making the video and you're making it mainly to get views or to get
it's even worse when you're not getting the views either.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch, like, this was like a long time ago when I was in high school or college, but the channel Game Grumps? Have you heard of them?
Oh, of course.
They're great, right? Aaron, I like Aaron, but he said one of the meanest, but it's so true, like cynical things where he's like, oh, do you know one of my favorite things to do on the side is I find a small Let's Play channel that has like almost no subscribers, that has like a long playthrough. And I start off by watching their first video, and they're super hype, and they're actually forcing the energy, but they're still actually into it. But they're like, energy's way up there. And then like on part 30, they're like so depressed and sad.
Oh,
and it's like mundane. They're like, hey guys, episode 30 of my Bloodborne playthrough.
Oh, that's some dark humor right there.
I know, you skip from the start to the end. Because if you're not getting, like, the views are kind of like the reinforcement. It's like the pat on the back saying you're doing good. So if you don't even have that, but you still want to finish it, because, like, it's sad to stop in the middle of a playthrough. You're like, hey, guys, so part 30.
That's so heartbreaking. Just at that point, they've got, like, a total of, like, 3 views throughout all their playthroughs. Oh, that's...
There are some channels that make the very brave decision to give up on whatever gets them views and just do what's fun. A channel who did that was Epic Name Bro, who has a soothing voice like Ashton Kutcher, and oddly enough looks like him too. But he played the Souls games, and he became famous because he lived in Japan. He teaches English actually to Japanese students. That's his job, and he's from America initially. And he could understand the game when it was only in the Japanese version. So he could play it before it got released in the West. So you could see the game early with an American guy explaining it with his English voice, and it's Japanese. And he's translating all of it. And even more fun, he'll sometimes explain the differences between the English and Japanese version of the game and how the translation was either correct or not, and like how it's got a different change or something. And it's very interesting, but all he could do was play Souls games. So because he'd beaten the games so many times, he created these crazy runs for himself where it's like, I can't die. If I die once, I have to restart the game. That's how I'm playing it.
Interesting.
He's like,
no death run.
Yeah, and he even straight up said like it's the only way I can feel any sort of like tension playing these games is with that rule. Otherwise, I know I'm gonna beat him on my second try if I die.
Crazy.
But then
So he must have had playthroughs where he failed halfway through.
Oh yeah, that's how the videos were. Like they had like 3 or 4 parts, and he could either beat it in 4 parts, or he would just he'd die in episode 3, and he's like, well, there we go, runs over, and you're just like, dang,
hilarious. That's crazy.
Did you hear about the one guy who beat every single Souls game without getting hit in a row?
No, from the
That's a guy.
first one, like we're talking like from Demon Souls to oh my god.
At first it was just Dark Souls, which was already crazy that he pulled it off, but since he did that, they're like, oh, now you should do it to where you put Bloodborne in there. And now you should put in Demon Souls. That's the first one. And he even plays them in like canonical order, which is cool too. I know they're not like attached technically, but Demon Souls is first is what I mean. And then Dark Souls, and then Bloodborne's in the middle somewhere. And then he finishes it. Yeah. And what's crazy is that he did get hit one time and had to go all the way back. Like he was in like the middle of Dark Souls 2. And some RNG happened where he's just running, and some stray energy blast just hits him, and he goes, oh! And he goes, what? How did I even get hit? And then he's like, okay. He just goes back. And the crazy part to me is he's so good at the game.
He didn't get salty or anything like that?
No,
he was like,
okay. I know. You can tell he's like, he must be stressed only because when he beats a boss, he pops off, but you never see like the stress on his face. There's even a part where he was like showing he put stuff in front of the camera at the start of like Dark Souls 3, like his keys or whatever, showing you some keychain or whatever that he got added while he's one-handed playing like against a boss, because it's so mundane. He can show you something in front of the webcam while playing and not even looking. And I think while he was fighting the boss, he was doing menu switches too with one hand, like, and it's like, whoa.
That's insane to me. You know, and when I see people who are like speedrunners and just people who like to break down a game to, you know, to just the level where you're, you know, skipping parts and, you know, just know every little detail about it. I respect that so much.
Do you think they'd be good at fighting games, Bear?
Pardon?
Do you think they'd be good at fighting games? Those speedrunners?
I don't know. I don't know. Because that's a very good question, because I think I've thought of that. And it all depends how good you are at facing adversity. You know, how
do you adapt, or do you just have a muscle memory?
Exactly. Can you That's a very, very big point, because like, how well can you adapt? Because you're not adapting to an AI and things that are already preset are going to happen every time. You have to adapt to your opponent on the fly. And you know, a great player is not necessarily going to play the same as like a mediocre player. You know, the mediocre player might actually do some things that are way crazier, and you might get hit with because you just didn't expect that.
They're tougher to deal with.
It's a lot of that adapting on the fly, which I'm not sure. You know, I would love to see some speedrunners, but the one good aspect that speedrunners have is that they're willing to put in the time and they're willing to put in those details, to learn the details, I should say, because all that frame data, all those, you know, punishes and things like that, that's stuff that they're probably already used to kind of figuring out.
Yeah. They'd love to memorize all that.
Exactly. It's all about how you get back up, man, with fighting games. And anyone listening, that's all it's about. You think that when we started fighting games that I was good? Hell no. You know, I think you got to just take your losses, and I promise you, you'll just review your footage, use that replay channel, and you're going to notice 20 things you did wrong in the first minute. And that's where that's where that growth comes from. And I think there's a lot of people out there just probably given up too early. You know, they were probably on the road of becoming strong players, but it was just too much to take in. People on Mortal Kombat Online were probably teabagging them and talking crap like a lot of people do with their microphones.
Just the fatalities, even.
The fatalities, yeah.
You'd be surprised the power of that. Getting fatality'd after match 1 when there's still a match to go. It really does do something to you. Like, what kind of person am I fighting right now? Degenerate. That's what I'm watching. This guy puts the cereal in after the milk. That's who I'm fighting right now.
Oh, yeah. How dare you? Whoever does that out there listening to this podcast.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you the question that I ask everybody, Bear, because we're getting towards the end here.
Sure.
So which fighting game do you take with you? The metaphor I normally give is on an island, but here's a different one. Thanos kicks your door in. He's going to snap away every fighting game except one. It still has online. It still plays exactly normal, but you can't get any new fighting games. which one do you stick it out with? Which one do you think?
God. But I can play online, you said.
Yes.
That changes it a lot. Because my answer was if it still didn't like act the same and I was only able to play it offline alone, the game I probably would have chosen was Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Okay.
Only because there's just so many things you can learn in that game, so many crazy I can spend 8 hours in training mode in that game and it will just fly like that.
Because all the synergy.
That's why, because of all the synergy, exactly. Just so many little things to learn, and learn magnetic blast loops with Magneto will take you a few hours. Just a lot of things to get down. But that won't be my choice because if online and everything acts the same, as it stands right now today, probably Dragon Ball Fighters, because the online is thriving, and I think it will continue to thrive because the Dragon Ball community is just so big, and there'll always be people who want to jump in and play that game, and you'll always find someone to play with. That's probably would be my choice, because if I'm alone on an island, I'm gonna get sick of playing story mode or training mode after a while. So I need the online features to work, Trey. So that's my choice.
It's funny, whenever I ask that question, right after I answer it, I usually predict what they're gonna say, even if I had no clue before I asked the question. But I'm like, probably this game. So I thought you were going to say Fighters for sure. Okay, here's another one.
Okay.
Here's another one. So if you could reboot a fighting game franchise that's like long since dead, or even just give a sequel to a game that hasn't had one in a while, which fighting game do you pick?
Wow.
Now you have the gauntlet. You snap it into existence.
Wow. I'm just thinking of ones that There's two choices that I'm thinking of right away. One,
you can do both.
I'll throw two. In there. First one I'll say is CVS, Capcom versus SNK.
Okay,
I feel like
sick.
It's absolutely time for us to get another Capcom versus SNK game. Another crazy one, and I know you love Fighters, Trey. I think it'd be cool to see another Bloody Roar game.
Yes,
because
that's the one.
I think it's been way too long since we've had a Bloody Roar, and I know it's not the biggest fighting game franchise out there. I just think that there's some cool stuff they could probably do. Let Namco handle it, Bandai Namco handle it.
Sure.
The Tekken team, I'm sure they can make something very cool, because having mid-game beast transformations. I think that there's so much you can do with Bloody Roar.
There's so many cool mechanics in that game that I wish carried over. Like, I know it's not considered the most competitive game, because it's kind of like, it's stuck in the middle of like competitive and arena fighter, even though it's not, but it feels kind of like a party game. Yeah. But I love some of the concepts, like, oh, here's your beast mode where you're powered up, but if you want to do a super, guess what you lose? You lose your beast mode. That's already a fun, like 50-50, like catch-22. Do you want the damage? Okay, say goodbye to your best form. Like, also an entire button too, because you can't even use circle unless you're transformed.
There's no reason why like the next iteration can't be kind of made with a competitive mindset. I feel like fighting game developers are getting better now, so it's I feel like it's the right call. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you said that. Did you watch any past videos? Is that why you knew what to say about Bloody Roar?
No,
or no?
I actually had no idea. Are you?
That's
big
always the
Bloody
one that
Roar
I
fan?
say when I bring it up. Like, I've changed it sometimes, but it's usually always Bloody Roar, because one of my favorite fighting game characters.
We're eye to eye.
I'm surprised you didn't say what is it? Donkey Never Die or whatever. I forgot the name of that game.
Dong Never Die.
Dong, yeah. We must revive Dong.
No, I'm not that much of a troll. I wouldn't troll you like that. But no, I didn't know you were a really big Bloody Roar fan. But
that was like the first fighting game before there was MK9. Back when I didn't know how to even play well at a fighting game and didn't even know what frame data meant. I liked that game because every character I thought was like a winner. And it was the perfect mix of like a somewhat intense atmosphere where there's stakes, but it's also super goofy. So you're like, it's a weird mix of like goof and also like there's stakes here. And I loved Stun the most because he's a grappler with like 30 attack throws and all these command grabs. And it was so much fun to learn him. Before him, I liked the mole, Bakuryu, or whatever his name was.
What was the rabbit's name? The bunny?
Oh, Hot.
Was it?
Her name's Hot.
Was it Hot?
No.
Oh, was it
I'm just saying she's hot, like sexy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She was a cool one.
I remember playing her. Alice. Alice was her name.
Oh, that's an easy one, like the Resident Evil. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
Alice was cool
yeah.
because her
Just
rabbit
great.
form
And I
sounded
love that you
fierce.
mentioned it. You mentioned that it's like that mix of fun and kind of, it had a lot of mechanics in it, but it kind of felt a little bit like a party game. I think that goes back to the point of, not necessarily every fighting game needs to be that esports competitive,
Mhm.
you know.
Sorry for coughing. The virus got me.
Oh, you okay? Hang in there.
Yeah. No, I'm fine. No, you're right though. I keep going with that thought.
Yeah, no, I think it's totally okay to release. That's why I think I liked Samurai Showdown so much. And I played it a bit, I didn't go heavily into it, but I love watching it still. 'Cause
Mhm.
it's just so different. It's so out of this world, and it's just a change of pace. Like I want different franchises to have their own identity.
Mhm.
You don't necessarily need to make another Street Fighter or another Marvel versus Capcom game. Like, make something new, make something that just has its own crazy and different rhythm to it. And I think, a game like Bloody Roar can absolutely bring that.
I think so too. Your camera just died on me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I lost your
What
camera.
happened?
All right, Bear, it's been a wonderful interview so far. One final question. Do you have any future plans for the channel that you want to drop on us here?
Throwing me to the wolves here, Trey. You
I
know
would
that I
never.
don't post YouTube like I used to. No, absolutely. For me, the reason why I never went full all out with it too. I feel like I've achieved what I wanted to achieve,
Mhm.
and I wasn't getting a lot of creative fulfillment from YouTube. But I always like to come back from time to time and just still, create a video here, create a guide here, because I do love it. I love the interaction portion of it, and there's just nothing more fulfilling than finding out that someone started to play a specific game or learned a specific character because they watched one of your videos. And especially during this crazy time, everyone, I hope you're all staying positive, whoever's listening to this during COVID-19. I definitely have planned to make a few videos here and there just to play maybe a little bit of Dragon Ball and share the love of fighting games and continue to do that.
What a
Here's
wonderful
hoping.
send off. That's great. Just love rainbows that wrap around the whole world. Great. Bring everyone together with fighting games. The community really is great. Like, I know some of y'all only play online. You might not get it because like it seems very toxic online. You go to a tournament, it is bizarre how much it just fades away. Like, everyone there just has pure camaraderie, it feels like. You have the occasional bad apple who you can tell doesn't go to very many tournaments and they think they're great and they get destroyed and they get angry because their ego's been hit. But most people, like, oddly enough, you don't even feel like getting salty when you lose a tournament because it's like you really do. Your brain just knows, like, that was you, man. There was no lag.
Exactly.
Everyone can play the characters they want. You can't even bitch about the tier list. That was your pick.
Exactly
Like,
what it
you
is.
can't.
And please go to your local too. Like, it's gonna be very weird in the beginning to getting to know people. You might not meet people right away, but you keep going back and stay persistent, stay consistent, and I promise you'll start to really get to know your community better, and your confidence will increase as far as fighting games go. You can talk about matchups with a lot of people sitting right next to you. There will never be a time where online play and offline play will be equivalent. You will always learn 10 times faster. You guys know the hyperbolic time chamber in Dragon Ball. Playing in your locals and playing offline, that is the hyperbolic time chamber. When you are playing online, a lot of times you're probably getting bad habits and you're not learning near as quick. So just have fun with it. Don't take life too seriously. That's all I really want to say about fighting games. I feel like too many people take them a little bit too seriously, and they judge themselves a little too harshly.
For sure. And I think also just not being able to see the person's face also may do something to our primitive. We evolve too quick for our brains. I think not seeing who beat us also makes us angry. Like, having no one to look at might also do it. But you got some great words of wisdom there, Barry, helping spread the love, getting people to enjoy those fighting games. You started my channel, so you inspired a lot more people, I'm sure, out there. So thank you so much for being a guest today, and I really appreciate your time. It was wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
Where can they find you at, Bear? On Twitter, your Instagram, your OnlyFans? How do we give it to them?
My OnlyFans, Trey, that's only for you. You're my only subscriber for that. You're not supposed to tell people about that.
I thought sharing was caring.
You guys can find me on at Behrudy on Twitter. Find my Facebook page, Behrudy, or mainly my YouTube channel, just Behrudy. Come hang out. Post a lot of stupid videos, but again, it's just about spreading the joy and the love as cheesy as that sounds.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday and a fantastic weekend. I'll catch y'all later.